Morning, everybody, and welcome to our SightRight Global Q Sports Network live Facebook calls. Today, I have a really special guest, and I think the best way to introduce this guy is for everybody to have a little look at that picture. That's the dream team as named by Joe, Mark's wife, and as you can see, the Brad Pitt of our SightRight Global Q Sports Network is none other than Lee Walker. Lee, a warm welcome. How are you?
Yeah, good, Steve. You?
Yeah, it's fine. Lockdown's just a bit crazy, hey?
Yeah, I mean, I've really been out at all for well, just over 2 months now. So yeah, really different.
Hold on, let's have a look at the hair. Have you had a haircut yet, or?
No, look at it. It's growing over my ears. It's nightmare.
Right, for anybody watching, I don't know, how long have we known each other? Well, we saw each other a long time ago, didn't we, in 1997, and perhaps we'll cover that. But I don't know, in terms of our coaching and our training of coaches and everything, what's that, about 2018, 17?
Yeah,
Just about 4 years.
Yeah, about
Feels like an eternity.
Thank you.
That's how long it takes me to get to Wales. And at one stage, I used to have to pay to get in there. Now I don't. Lee, I'm going to ask you a few questions. You might have a couple back for me, but hopefully it'll be nothing too difficult. So I'd like to help people understand who you are, some of your background, and when did you first turn pro?
Well, I was first in 1994.
Okay. So you were part of the trio, weren't you? I think, from memory.
Which trio?
The Mark yourself, Matthew Stevens, weren't you sort of like, part of the main team from Wales?
Yeah, I mean, I remember playing one home international series. 16 it was at the time, where you had teams from England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland, and the Welsh team was me, Matthew, and Mark.
Okay.
The Scottish team consisted of John Higgins and Jamie Burnett, and the English team had Ronnie O'Sullivan and Steve Lee in it.
Right.
It was probably the best international, and because a lot of those three are the best there's ever been.
Yeah.
Got Matthew Stevens, Steve Lee, again, two unbelievable players who probably didn't do as well as what they probably should have. And then you had Jamie Burnett, he was a top 32 player.
Yeah.
And also me as well. So very good life.
That's going back some, isn't it?
Unfortunately, yes, it is going back a lot.
So, I mean, if we look back in those days, I mean, those internationals, they were the days when literally used to have home international events, didn't we? We used to see, and there was great passion between the teams, Wales against England, against Scotland, Ireland. There used to be some huge patriotic games, really, didn't there?
Yeah, really good. It was certainly the England and Wales clash was always one that neither country wanted to lose. I think that was always a special one for Wales, I think, and like it is in the rugby, and a lot of rivalry there.
Yeah. So snooker's changed a lot now, hasn't it? Things have moved on, different tables, different conditions. Yeah. But if we look back then, so in your career now as a playing professional, what's been your greatest achievement?
Well, my greatest still have to get into the quarterfinal of the World Championship.
Okay.
That was way back in 1997 when I was 21.
I remember. Yeah.
But you have got a good memory.
I do. I remember. We'll touch on that in a second. Yeah, that was when I first met you. But 1997. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually the first tournament I ever qualified for. I'd been a pro for I think that was my third year. I hadn't done particularly well in the first 2 years in the Blackpool qualifiers at the Norbreck, where you had to go and spend 2 months in Blackpool qualifying. And did a lot better in my third season, and then rounded up at the end by reaching the quarterfinal at the Crucible. So
who did you beat en route? Because look, anybody who reaches the quarterfinal of the Crucible has got class. So who did you beat en route?
Well, I actually, the first match I actually played in that, I think I won altogether in that tournament. I think I won 8 matches, I think. But
yeah,
the first match that I won was a best of 9, believe it or not. There was that many rounds to play.
Wow, compared to best of 19 today.
Yeah, and
yeah.
I'll never forget. I played a guy. I think the boy's name was Mark Farnsworth, and it was 4-4, and I was, I think, 33 behind on the last red.
Okay.
And the final black was across the black cushion, and I dropped it in dead weight, and it wobbled. I thought, oh, I've left it on the pocket here, and it actually somehow it dropped in, and I went on from there to get to the quarterfinal. So
wow. And who did you beat at the Crucible? Because I mean, that was your first time at the Crucible. So let me wind back that question. First time you walked out at the Crucible, how did you feel?
At that time, I felt so confident in my game, the way I was playing.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt amazing. You know, I'm playing out there. Although I was very, very nervous at the start, it took me about 2 frames, and I settled into it pretty quick. First match I played was against Dave Harold.
Yeah,
who
I remember Dave. Yeah,
as you know, really great player, and
yeah.
really tough as nails. You know, tough as they come. And I think the score, I think I beat him 10-7, I think. And then I played Alan McManus then in the last 16, and I've been watching some of the different on the BBC. They've had the old reruns of some of the snooker, and I'm also watching the basketball, The Last Dance. I don't know whether you've seen that on Netflix.
No, I haven't. No.
About the Chicago Bulls. I'm not particularly into basketball, but I've been watching that.
Yeah.
And how they've been saying how they felt mentally and different things and all these things. And I remember I was 9-7 down to Alan McManus in that game, and had to come out for the last session. Obviously, not many. I think I was ranked 180 or something in the world, and I think he was number 8 at the time. I think he was 9-7 in front. Not many people obviously give me a chance. And I remember never forget my mother. I was just about to just getting ready to go down, and my mother said to me, "Oh, good luck tonight." And I've never had this feeling ever before, and I hadn't had it before, and I hadn't had it since. And I just looked at her and I said, "I guarantee you, I will win this game."
Smashing.
I don't know how I felt it, and I don't know why. I just said, and she looked at me, and she kind of went, "Oh yeah, great, yeah." I was thinking, shut up, don't be silly, you know.
Did she tell Alan? Hey, Alan, Lee reckons you can't win now.
I remember going back to her and saying, "No, I'm telling you, I will win this match."
You and I, we talk about these things sometimes. I don't know what it is, and I think a lot of snooker players at times will know they can almost predict certain things. It's weird. It's a sixth sense. Some people might say it's a load of hogwash, but yeah, I think there are times when you just know.
I was watching the rerun of the final, and Ebden was 2 down with 3 to play. And he said he came back from the toilet. He just knew he was going to win.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you've got to do it. You got to do it. You still got to win it. But sometimes you just, for whatever reason, get these feelings. I don't know why.
So Okay, so that's those thoughts of walking out at the Crucible. There wasn't any. You didn't have any walk-on music then, did you? It was just being
No,
introduced and announced.
yeah. No,
So,
yeah, black and white in those days as well, I think.
I mean, anybody who's been behind the scenes at the Crucible, it hasn't changed in terms of where you walk in from and how you get into the arena. And anybody who's been either on the front row at the Crucible or in the very very close conditions there will know that even on the dual table situation, how close it is. You're virtually sitting on the front on the spectator's lap in the front row, aren't you? So it's a very 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 tight place. Yeah.
Yeah, was the first in tournament I'd ever qualified for.
Yeah.
I didn't really know any different. So going there, yeah, it was a bit tight, but I played the game, I played the matches, and didn't really think that much about that. I
Yeah.
qualified again then the following year, and played Ken Doherty in the first round, who was the defending champion at the time.
Yeah.
And I noticed it a lot because I then played. I'd had a year playing all the tournaments, going to all the different venues. I then noticed it a lot more in the second year how
Yeah.
close you are to the. You can, if you're playing a shot, if you're standing behind the shot preparing, you can actually stick your arm out and touch somebody in the crowd. It is
Yeah.
really close.
I mean, that's something really. If we now get to play this year's World Championship behind closed doors, they won't be able to have that partition down, will they, between those two tables? Because literally the players and the referees they can't pass each other without touching. That's the two tables set up there is so tight. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, but. That feeling has never left you, has it? Your first appearance at the Crucible has never left you.
No, I mean, it is an amazing place to play.
Yeah.
Going through the curtains there. I'm lucky enough I qualified 3 times, which in I suppose 20 attempts is not the greatest amount of times, but
Yeah.
there are some great players over the years that have never even got to play there. So
Yeah.
I would obviously like to get there one more time, but
Yeah.
I'm still thankful of the memories that I have from playing there, because there is no better place to play. It's amazing.
Well, the last time you were there, we were stood beside a certain young man called Mr. Williams, weren't we? So sometimes life changes, and we move with what comes our way. And yeah, we'll talk about Mark a bit later, but in between time, I've got a message that's come up on my right-hand side. I haven't been very good at paying attention to these in the past, so apologies to anybody who's watched before. But there's a certain person, I don't know if I'm allowed to say names, but they're saying that Walker looks like Noel Gallagher. Have I got anything else? Let's just have a little look here. Well, when I called you Brad Pitt, Stevie Burke says, "Are you sure?" Okay, so from a sort of playing point of view, you've had a career that can say, "I've been to the Crucible, I've been to semi-finals of tournaments, and you've enjoyed it, haven't you?"
Yeah, I mean, I probably, I stopped playing as a professional thinking for 6 years. I never thought that I would ever get back to play. Never, to be honest, I didn't even really want to either. But
Yeah,
opportunity came along 6 years ago to. I finished Welsh #1 in amateurs, so I had a free entry to Q School. So my father really, more than me, wanted me to give it a go. So I give it a go with very little practice whatsoever.
yeah.
Luckily enough, ended up getting through, and I've managed to well, certainly with the help of SightRight, I've managed to stay on the tour for six more years. So something that I never thought that I would be playing again professional.
I remember we'll talk about it a bit later, but I do remember when you first came to me, and it was kind of No, I'm going to wind you back first before we talk about that. I mean, I first met you on the at the awards ceremony, didn't I? I was the special guest of Terry and Steve Davis at the time, and who should sit beside me but a young lad called Lee Walker. And I think when Terry introduced me to you, Young Player of the Year award for 1997. I mean, how special was that? So, anybody watching in. This guy, make no mistake, this guy's got some class, not only as a player, and for those people who don't realise how tough it is out there as a pro, my God, it's tough, and the eras have changed, and the dedication is the need for greater dedication has changed, but a really classy player and a classy coach. But we'll talk about the coaching a bit later. But I've got the greatest respect for Lee, and that was the first time I saw him on back in 1997 when I was working with Terry for his retirement at the Crucible, and it was fascinating that I don't know 20 or so years on, we should catch up, Lee. And I remember when he first came to me, wanting to become a SightRight coach, and I said, well, hey, let's see what we can do with your game first, because who knows? And you've had a couple of semi-finals since. It's not easy on tour, though, is it?
No, I mean, the standard now. Obviously, the standard top end of the game. If you go back over, 15 years ago, the standard of the top 16 was amazing then. The standard of the top 16 is amazing now. But one of the things that really has changed now is the standard of the players lower down.
Yeah.
Players ranked 70, 80, 90. You can play even lower down than that. You can play these guys and just simply not get a shot. So if you catch them on the wrong day, and there's obviously there's a lot more tournaments that are kind of best of 7.
Yeah.
Which does give the lesser player a more of a chance against the top boys, but there's really not that many shocks anymore, because on any particular day now, basically anyone can beat anyone.
I think you've kind of proven that, haven't you? Because I mean, if we look at some of the results, in our time together, you've bashed up Neil Robertson, bashed up Mark Selby. You've taken some really, really big scalps from what some people would say. Oh, how does that happen when lower ranked players are playing the top guys? But it just goes to show how close that concertina is in terms of talent.
Yeah, I mean, in looking like when the first, I think I had 12 or 13 years on the tour. I made last 16 of a lot of tournaments, and then the one quarterfinal, which is the Crucible. Okay, there wasn't that. I mean, I remember playing one season when there was only 6 events to play in. Obviously now,
yeah,
you got 18 events or whatever. So a lot more. But in the 6 years that I've come back, and in the 4 years that I've been, using SightRight, I've beaten. I think I beat Mark Selby when he was world number 1. I beat Judd Trump when he was world number 1.
He said you were our best player after you beat him. He said I've just lost to your best player. That was where was that? Was that Preston? Where was that? The English Open?
English Open was in Crawley.
Yeah, is that where you beat him? I know he came out of the arena and he just came straight up to me and said, "Your best player has just beaten me." Oh, I said we always knew. As if, yeah.
I don't think he was 100% serious there, but there we are. But I've always got on well with Judd, even from when he was, from when he was a young lad, and he's a good guy, and he proved it that day. He wouldn't have been expecting to lose to me, but the way he was afterwards, just said, well played, you played better than me today, and but you can't say fairer than that.
He's one hell of a kid, isn't he? He gets some stick at times, and I guess the top people, Steve Davis did, Ronnie did, Stephen Hendry did. They all get stick when they come to to the top of the world. Mark, even top of the world, and people will always criticize these guys, but he keeps himself to himself. He's a young kid having good time, and so he should. And but from a dedication point of view on the table, I'm not too sure too many people would outdo him. He knows what he wants. He's very focused. He believes in himself, and some people don't like that. I think he's an awesome player. I really do. And I think he puts the fear of God into people in terms of the way he goes about the game. But if he's on his long game, my God, yeah, he's a tough cookie. So, but I did like it when he said, "I've just beat your best player has just beaten me." Well done, Judd. Let's go a couple of places, shall we? I'm going to show you a picture. Have we got any other questions? First of all, let's have a little look. Solid as a rock, Walker is. How can you go on stream looking like that? He says.
Who's that from?
Do you want me to tell you? Am I allowed to tell you? Is it
Yeah,
Keen Holmes? Joshua said, stop playing pro to run junior academy Saturdays. Get your priorities right, Walker. Right, we're going to travel, Lee, but before we travel, okay, I'm just going to show you what it's like when you get into business class with Lee Walker. All right, there he is. Can you remember that?
Yeah, I don't go business class, so I could yeah.
Well, we did then, Lee, and there's a few faces that come up when you get business class.
I can remember.
Hong Kong. Let's talk about Hong Kong because listen, that's one of my favourite pictures. Myself, Lee, and Wayne. Are you there? Are you there? Hello. Solo, I've got some meshes on here. I think I'm all okay. You've lost the sound. Can I can see you and I can hear you. He says he can't hear me. We're just trying to solve a technical error here. We're good. Can you hear me now? Lee, come in, Lee. This is a technical problem. Are you there? Can you hear me? Yeah. Can put your thumb up. Right. Lee. It's Lee. No? We've got a message coming through. The jungle drums are rumbling away, and I don't know if we've lost Lee for good here. He's going into techie mode. He's trying to make a shift. I know why he's done that. He's leaned forward to show me the players' T-shirt that I brought him back from America. Yes, that's a very nice player's T-shirt. Lee, now where's he gone?
I'll get to this phone. I'll just get back to normal. If the sound's gone off.
Is it not charged?
No, it's got 58%.
You're still live, Lee.
The volume gone down or?
No, I don't know.
And Lee seeks technical help here. Have we got any questions? If anybody can hear me while Lee's trying to reconnect, has anybody got any questions? Mark Williams, you said you lost weight 5. Where from? Lee, come back. Come back, Lee. Guys, we had technical problems connecting Lee up this morning, so I'm hoping that he's ready to join us again. So here he comes again, and he's going to be faced with the question from his best buddy. Are you back, Lee? Lee? Are you back? No sound from you, Lee. Have you put your phone on mute, Lee?
No, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Brilliant, brilliant. Well, listen, just lean forward a bit. Just lean forward a bit. Lean forward, right. Just have a nice little look at that player's t-shirt. Now, I brought that back from the US for Lee, all right? That was on the other side, yeah. Always remember your special friends. Now, talking about special friends, Lee, we've got the best question of the day. It actually says, you said you lost weight, 5. Where from? First and foremost, would you like to guess who that question is from?
I know exactly where that question is from.
Sir Mark Williams. Right, now we've got you back. Let's go into your personal coaching. We've taken a few trips to the HKSI. You've helped me train up 25 coaches on an international basis now, as well as all of the coaches at the Hong Kong Sports Institute with Wayne, and we've had a fantastic time. From a personal coaching point of view, though, you're quite active as a coach as well as a player on tour, aren't you?
Yeah. You know, I've been up until the lockdown. You know, I was doing quite a bit of coaching. Obviously, going to Hong Kong 3 times a year as well, which I really enjoy. So yeah, really busy with the coaching. But obviously, at the moment, with what's going on in the world, I haven't coached anyone for about 3 months now.
Yeah, but we've got the good news is we've got several coaches lined up for when we come out of lockdown to train up, and I think on that fact, as you know, from your experiences now as an accredited SightRight coach, what have been the biggest problems you found with people out there?
Where's that, Steve?
Well, when you've been coaching other players now, amateurs, what have been the biggest problems you've been finding with them from a SightRight coaching perspective?
Well, when SightRight has helped with my game, you know, when I'm coaching these players now, it's very, very similar. How people are lining up would have been the same way as I would have lined up, you know, and that's the way I would have that I would have taught them to line up a few years ago as well. Obviously, you know, having done SightRight in my game, I can see that I've seen the difference it has made, the difference it made to Mark, and you know, trying to help these players to line up correctly is you know, it's fantastic, because the difference it can make is unbelievable, to be perfect.
I think, you know, you and I both know that when we turn around and look at the way the network is being built now, to provide an online global platform to coach people in SightRight Methods, but there's more to SightRight's 10 steps than just the sighting alignment, and we as coaches know this, and our online network is getting this information out there. But one of the most important things you and I both know is it's the same with any accuracy sport. If you're not sighting and aligning properly to any accuracy sport that you're playing, you'll manipulate your technique. You'll start looking for all sorts of different answers, you know, trying all sorts of different things just to try and improve, because you keep hitting a ceiling. And, you know, some of the things we're finding are quite incredible, aren't they? Particularly from players who have been coached for many, many years, just because the practice that they're being coached in, you know, from my point of view, from our point of view, is quite old fashioned now. And that sounds like a big statement, but session 4 we roll out for next week. We've gone live with session 3 for our home theory course this week, and we roll out 4 next week. And 4 is going to amaze people. It's really going to show some home truths, you know. But we can't wait for that. But your training of coaches, you know, it's been massive help to me. I mean, who has been the most fun, do you think?
I know.
Lee, you keep breaking up a little bit when you're moving. I don't know if you need to come closer to your phone.
I'll try to keep it possible.
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit like you're on Mars. I think Mark has said nice sound. So yeah. We got another question from Mark. Who is the only one that can use and teach SightRight?
Hey,
Hey, if we're going to get him on a call next week, hush. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. You'll be able to get your own back here on some of these questions. Where were we? Who's thrown us? Where were we?
I don't know. I'm
He's had us lose our thread. Have you got any questions for me?
I have got a question.
Do I run? Do I run now before you ask it?
It's an interest. I'll be interesting to see your answer to this, and you've got to try and think and give me an answer.
What, immediate?
Well, no, you can think about it. You can give us your answer at the end. But I think who's going to be listening and everything. Out of the three greats that you have coached, which it would be, and I do hate to put him in this category, but Mark, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and Stephen Hendry, who do you enjoy coaching the most?
Say that again.
Out of the three great players that you've coached, I know you've coached a lot of great players, but the three great players that would come to mind would be Mark Williams, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and Stephen Hendry. Which one of those did you enjoy coaching the most?
God, that's a stinger. Are you adding Steve Davis into that?
You can, if you want to add Steve Davis as well, you can add Steve Davis as well.
Well, Steve Davis said that SightRight made him feel like a player again. So, and I was introduced to him by Terry, and that was back when he got to the UK, the final of the UK in 2005. He beat Stephen Maguire and Stephen Hendry en route. They've all got different. They've all got. Can I think about this?
You can have it.
I need to think about this. Let's go somewhere else for the minute, shall we? Let's talk about Mark while I think about this. So I've got to what out of the four or just the three?
Well, my was that I didn't realise that you'd spent that much time with Davis. So,
Steve Davis was in the early days. I was referred to him by Terry. So and fascinating. Genius was the word he used on our first meeting. Nemesis is how it was reported in the press. And I think he thought I was an oddball banker at the time. I think something like that. Sorry?
He was right.
Yeah, sadly, some people do think I'm that. But so let me keep. Ooh, Steve Davis is an icon of his own from my point of view. The three. Who do I like coaching the best? Right, I'm gonna qualify this. I'm gonna answer it. Right, Mark is the most fun. Mark, I knew Mark was going to win the world after that first session that you were there. And we came out of that first session and I knew he was going to win. I knew he was going to win another event. That was a matter of course for me. And as we started progressing through the season, I remember telling you, what price was he to win the world that year? He was 66 to 1. I said, there's no way will he be anywhere near that by the time we get to the Crucible. And I think it was something like 18 to 1 or 12 to 1 or something like that by the time we got to the Crucible. But Mark, Mark is an incredibly quick learner. And when people start talking about natural ability, Mark, well, he took the course, didn't he? He became one of our accredited coaches and now is part of our specialist team. But, for someone to take the course so that he could understand more when he was under the gun, shows how clever Mark is. Don't tell him that. Well, actually, we probably already have. But it really does. He took the course to understand more. He became a licensed accredited coach to understand. Knowledge is power. But it also showed to me that there was intention there, but fun. The fun we've had along the way. The fun has been incredible, and then the emotion of the World Championship. Well, it kind of was. I don't know. We were on. The fortnight was unfolding. So then, if I turn around and look at Ronnie, I guess the excitement from working with Ronnie for the year and whatever happens going forward with him in terms of what he wants to do was not so much about winning the world. It was about keeping him greater for longer. Him knowing that he needed to change to keep up with the pace. He'd seen and watched Mark at the Crucible. And in fact, he'd seen and watched him in Germany. I think Ronnie told me that's when he realised that Mark was on a really good and right path. And I think it was that performance that started to make Ronnie realise that he needed to listen and understand what was going on with the new form of coaching in this game. But Mark, the difference between Mark and Ronnie is that Mark will just, he gets it so quickly. And yet Ronnie then goes into things in a much deeper level. He's quite a complicated individual. He loves the detail. And he really loves the detail on the table. And so there's complete differences. Huge fun with Mark, huge work dedication with Ronnie. Mark is so relaxed. Ronnie is not intense in practice, but incredibly focused. And then, so Mark, Ronnie, Stephen is, where will this take us? Working with all three of them, my goodness, it's kind of, that's a big question, Lee. That's a huge, big question. The most special moment has to have been with Mark at the World Championship. I don't think anybody will ever cap that off. How we pulled all that together. It wasn't just me. It was you. It was Stevie Burke. It was Mark's dedication to drive and his ability just to take it in his stride. Some people can't do that. If it happens, it happens. And there was music that we were listening to along the way. Well, maybe when we have that call with Mark, we'll talk about it. But it was unfolding in front of our very eyes. Whereas Ronnie was about working to go and deliver it. As much as for Ronnie, it's only about wanting to enjoy the game at the table and being great at the table and not embarrassing people. You understand what it's like. If you don't put on a good show, you embarrass people, or you embarrass yourself rather. You feel embarrassed out there. Miss a bad shot, it can make you feel like the biggest idiot holding a cue, can't it? Yeah. So Ronnie was focused. Stephen though, on the other hand, the fun we're having there is about seeing him enjoying hitting the ball again, playing, and where it goes will ultimately be where he will want it to go. But seeing the playing juices flow again, seeing the potential competitive juices flow again, because he's back in control of the game. Is the fantastic element of working with Stephen. Do I get overawed with any of them? No. We just have great experiences, but each of them are so different. So I'm going to cop out a little bit here. I'm going to say so far the most special moment is with Mark. The most special moment. And that was Mark winning the World Championship with us. That picture, this picture, never forget it. It's on a piece of slate. That is just like one of the most important possessions I think I've got. with Ronnie, the most special moment was seeing him stand in the crowd at the UK in amongst all his fans, because that is what Ronnie is all about, you know, being great for his fans as well as for himself. Stephen, who knows what's to come? One thing I do know, if he chooses, and if we can get him there, no one will want to play him at a high level if he turns up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that a fair, you know, have I couldn't just answer a individual like that, to be
No,
fair
you
to
have
yourself.
questions.
You know, can you imagine now? Let's imagine Stephen manages to do something that helps him either get to the champion of champions, or if he suddenly uses a wild card and he feels that he can do it. Can you imagine who is there anybody really is going to want to play when that aura starts walking around the table back in control? Now maybe I say too much there, but that's how I see the 7 times world champion, you know. And I guess as close as many people will still say between him and Ronnie, he is the 7 times world champion. There's nobody's beaten that record. Nobody's even equaled it. So, you know, I hold that world championship title the highest that anybody can ever give me, really. Until someone beats that, the argument for me always has to be he's the best proven player by winning that number of world titles in a tough era. I don't, you know, I still think in a tough era. So wouldn't it be great to see him coming back and showing what he can do in part, in some part, you know, not necessarily on the main tour or whatever, but in part to show that, you know, he's still the 7 times world champion of the world and should be highly respected. You wouldn't want, you know, when I turn around and say, if we were suddenly at the champion of champions next week or next month or in 3 or 4 or 5 months' time and he'd qualified, you know, there wouldn't be anybody who'd really want to be playing him, would there?
Wouldn't want to draw.
No. But where it goes with him is kind of fun first, enjoying the game first, you know, so they are 3 completely different animals. But if Stephen's competitive juices start flowing again, then, you know, yeah, could be interesting time. But I'm going to move you on now. Come on, talk to me about Mark. Let's get our own back. Has he asked any more questions?
Where do I start?
Where do you start with Mark? You've known him for how long?
I first met him at the Welsh Under tournament when I was 12. So that would be, unfortunately now, that's 32 years.
32 years. You're like the and and deck of the snooker world to me. You are. I've never seen 2 people have so much fun. 12 years old. How did you feel when he won the world championship?
It was special, you know, to be there and be involved. Because I'd gone with him. I started sort of doing a little sort of bits of coaching with him. Went to the World Championship in I think it was 2016. And he was playing great that year. And before the quarterfinal match against Ding, he split his tip the night before, and unfortunately that put paid to any chances he had the following day. And Ding actually beat him with a session to spare. If he'd had it,
Yeah.
I'm not saying for any way he would have beaten Ding. You'll never know, but he was really good that year as well. And you know, it certainly wouldn't have been 13-3 the score if he hadn't split his tip. That's all I'm saying. Ding's a great player, so whether he would have beaten him, I don't know, but it would have been. And then, you know, obviously we've been traveling together on the tour for the last sort of four years or whatever. So I've been watching all his matches that he's been playing, really, virtually everyone. And you know, there was, you know, I actually remember the conversation that I had with him, and it was something like we were having a beer. I think we were in Gibraltar, and I actually said to him, I've got something that I think will definitely make you win a tournament next year. And kind of looked at me a bit and said, "What's that then?" And I said, "Well, think about it, because you know what it is." And he looked at me a bit puzzled, and I said, "Have a think about it, because he'd been giving you a bit of stick, Steve, hadn't he, on social media, and he turned around and he went, 'Oh, not sight wrong.'" And I said, "Yeah," I said, if you try SightRight, I said, "you will definitely win a tournament next year." And I did expect him to just turn around and hurl some abuse at me and some 4-letter words, but he actually didn't. He went, "Right, I'll have to have a think about that." And as soon as he said that, then I knew he was going to give it a try. And once he did give it a try, I knew he would like it, because once you have given it a try, you can't. There's no possible way you can argue with any of it. It's just by far the best coaching method there is in Q Sports today.
Well, that humbles me, but you've had some laughs from sharing hotel rooms along the way and all sorts. He must be like a brother to you.
No.
A big bad brother? No. Is this a case of what goes on tour stays on tour? Yes. What's been your funniest moment with him? Come on, funniest moment.
What's the funniest moment?
Yeah, with Mark on tour.
Oh well, there's loads over the years. Some that I can't even tell you about. So,
funniest moment that you can tell us about.
I can't think of any offer, but I do remember that but basically typical Mark, really, that after we played he played Barry Hawkins in the semi-final of the World.
Yeah.
Brilliant match. Both players played brilliant, and Mark managed to beat him 17-15. I think by the time we got back to the hotel, it was approaching 12 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Typical Mark, I'm hungry.
Yes.
He actually went into the room. He was that shattered. He actually went in the room, just collapsed on the bed. But nothing can get. It doesn't matter how tired he is. When he wants to eat, he's got to eat. So
yeah.
It was 12 o'clock. There's no restaurants open, and the next afternoon he's playing in the final of the World Championship, and 12:30 in the night, there we are, all the drunks coming in and everything, and we're sat in a kebab shop having a kebab.
The food of champions, eh? That's the real secret.
And you got all the guys coming in, a bit worse for wear.
Yeah.
Oh, did you win? Did you win? Yeah, I won, but yeah. Oh, brilliant. And that's basically that's basically the way he is. The night before, the World Championship final, at 1 o'clock in the morning, we're sat in a kebab shop having a kebab.
Class, eh?
Oh,
did
class.
Stevie Burke
how much class he's got? Yeah,
Oh dear. I've learned that Wagamama's and Nando's are great tour meals. But the kebab the night before. Can you remember the party, by the way? I'm going to share a bit of information about you from that party. But can you remember the after party?
I can.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Look, guys, anybody watching in, all right? When Lee is in real party mode, you know it. The way you know it is because he'll be on the dance floor with a bottle in each hand. There you were, Lee, dancing away on the floor, a bottle in each hand. I don't think
I came dance floor for about 2 hours, I
think. You were on there all night.
All night, yeah.
Yeah.
It was again. I looked at the pictures and found pictures of that the other day, and it was that was a really special evening. That.
we had, what was it? I think the morning, what was it? 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning. We were outside then having a picture just outside. It's near the Novotel, wasn't it? Wherever we were just outside, and before we were having breakfast before we went to bed.
Yeah.
Uh,
Actually, that we went to bed about. I think we got to bed about 8 a.m. and then we had to be up for 11:30 to leave the room. And we had two double beds in the room. I was in the one, Mark was in the other, and Joe had come up for the night. So Joe and Mark were in the one bed. I was in the other, and
yeah.
he decided it would be a funny idea to jump into bed with me and take a selfie. And
You made the newspaper.
I'd only just woken up and took a selfie. I put on Twitter. Look who I ended up in bed with.
And it was in the sun the next day.
It's the only time I made page 2 and 3 of the Sun.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I struggled to make the back pages of any newspaper for anything I've ever done in snooker, but I'm on page 2 and 3 for being in bed with another bloke. So.
Oh dear, oh dear. Right, who would you say is a rising star in Wales? I mean, you have one student under your wing, one lad under your wing who I'm incredibly impressed by. But he might be the only one. There might be a couple more. But who would you say is one of the next biggest talents coming out of Wales?
Without kind of Liam Davis.
Yeah. How old is he now?
He's 13 at the minute. His 14th birthday is next month, I think.
Cool. 14.
Yeah, and I remember the first day that I coached him. He was only actually 6 years of age, and I said to his father, that's a little bit young. I don't coach, and it's better if you just come to the junior club. It won't cost you so much money, and I'll show him how to hold the cue and everything else. And
yeah,
Dad insisted that I came up, so I had it was a 2-hour lesson, and I had about 5 or 6 things that I thought, over the 2 hours, 5 or 6 things will be plenty of things to do, with a 6-year-old. And he did all 5 things within 10 minutes.
And now 8 years on, 14 years old, he's won everything, hasn't he, in terms of Welsh junior events and all sorts, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's currently under 16, under 18 champion.
Yeah.
He actually had an invite to play in the shootout. And he's had an invite as well to play on the Challenge Tour this year. I think he managed to win 2 or 3 games on the Challenge Tour, but it's not about at the moment. It's just about trying to gain a bit of experience in those, because that's obviously a massive step up for him playing in Challenge.
He's got a great head on his shoulders, hasn't he? In terms of, What about, is there anybody else behind Liam that's coming through?
There are a few young lads coming. I think there's one lad from North Wales. But again, he's very, very, very young. He puts a lot of videos up on YouTube.
Is that Ben? Is that little Ben Williams? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He can pot a ball, can't he?
Yeah, and he, I think he if he sticks to it, he looks like he can be a very, very good player. But obviously very young. But unfortunately, I think the same with all the countries at the moment. Whereas, like I said, when I met Mark for the first time in that junior tournament 32 years ago, the tournament had to be played over 2 days because there was that many entries. I mean, now, unfortunately, I think some of the junior events, they get in like 13, 14 entries. It's
something more needs to be done, doesn't it?
Definitely, yeah.
I think, it's a marvelous game, and there's a lot going on in schools and stuff like that. But it's not just in schools where it needs to be happening. It's getting the youngsters into the clubs so that they can develop and enjoy the game. But you and I both know it's the same old story nowadays. Youngsters, if they can't learn quickly and progress quickly, they'll switch to other things. And it's got to be very, very quick progression. And we've talked about this in terms of the way that we teach. It's controversial, but I have the one simple statement: if you're going to put yourself in front of any coach on an accuracy sport, would you be happy if they were coaching you offline? And if that's happening, and these youngsters can develop quicker by doing the right things quicker, then I think it keeps and will keep more in the game. But that's might seem a controversial statement from me, but that's where I go. So I think, one, there needs to be more people in the game. More juniors being got into the game, into clubs somehow. And if that's the individual governing bodies of each nation, you know, really making that happen and finding ways to make that happen, and then not just for fun. These kids, they want to win. Some of these kids don't just play the game because they want to have fun. They want to win. They're competitive. Footballers at school, cricketers at school. We were competitive, male and female. And I think that needs to be a big part of it as well. So, but hey, we're doing things in our own way. We've got another question, I think. Let's have a little look. Who's your favourite commentator, Lee? It's come from Matthew Kalasa. Who's your favourite commentator?
Favourite commentator? I could tell you who isn't my favourite commentator, but that would get me into trouble. So,
will it get you a fine? Stick with your favourite.
Favourite commentator? Good question. That I would say Dennis Taylor.
Dennis Taylor. Right. Okay. Who do you think Mark's favourite commentator is?
Oh, no idea.
Evidently, I pronounced Matthew's name pretty well. I'm pretty proud of that. So Dennis Taylor, he has an affinity with the public, doesn't he?
Yeah, I've always liked him. He's a good guy, good fun to be around, and yeah, I think sometimes the commentators can be very hard on sometimes, and I think he's quite fair. I think he's not too soft, but he's not too hard either. So,
okay, we've got another question for you. Who are your two favourite Welsh professionals, snooker players?
Again, I can tell you which two.
You can if you wish, but I've been controversial, so if you wish to. No, don't get into trouble, Lee. Let's keep you clean.
Obviously, the two. I was best man at Ryan Day's wedding many years ago. So, yeah. Ryan, me and Ryan have been very, very good friends for a long time. And unfortunately, I would have to say that large gentleman from Cabernet Vale as well. He's, I've known him a long time as well, so I'd have to go for that one.
Right. Yeah. And
yeah.
Right. Okay. So, who is your favourite football team?
Manchester United.
Manchester United. So, do you think if the season isn't finished, do you think Liverpool should be awarded the title? I can see the look on your face. How great a question that is.
Well, obviously, I would have to say yes, definitely that Liverpool deserve to win the league. Absolutely, definitely.
Wow.
If it does get cancelled, I hope they give it to them.
Well done. Now we've got another question here. Oh, I'm not too sure. Who do you think is the best coach in the game? Now, Lee, remember, I paid you a fiver for this.
No, it's I would have to say myself. No.
Well done. Well done. We'll move on. We'll move on. Right. What else have we got? He says, thanks, Lee. Joshua. He says, thanks, Lee. Means loads. I'm glad you're not delusional like the rest of the Manchester United supporters.
Did he notice I was shaking?
Sorry?
Did he notice I was shaking my head at the time when I was saying it, though?
I know you were. I know you were. Right. Let's look at this now. So, have I got a question for you? Another question for you? Yeah. Well, it's not really a question. You often travel over to the Hong Kong.
Yep.
And you spend a lot of time out there with Wayne and the Hong Kong team. And you helped me train the coaches up there with the advocacy of Wayne Griffiths, who's now part of our specialist coaching team for the network. But you love it, don't you? I mean, the time you spent in Hong Kong helping their athletes. One, can you explain how Hong Kong sees their Q Sports players compared to, say, the UK?
I went over. I think it was about years ago now. The Hong Kong Institute of Sport, and you've been there yourself, Steve. You've seen what it's like. The setup there is second to none.
Yeah.
If you're a player that plays and you play for the Hong Kong team, you've got a system in place there that is going to give you every possible chance to be as good as you can possibly be. It is so different to anything that Wales, Scotland, Ireland. The Irish have got a pretty good setup with the coach and everything got with PJ Nolan, but this there in Hong Kong is far superior to anything I have ever seen. The place and the facilities and everything that they've got is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Wayne, when you look at what Wayne has built there, really, it's incredible. From what used to be one table in a corridor, and then now a full complex there. But it's the way they treat their players as well, isn't it? It's not only just the care and attention that he gives to the players and the support on tour, as amateur or professional. But it's also they're treated as athletes and respected as athletes, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a most of them players, but obviously they've got Marco and they've got Andy as well. They're both on tour at the moment, but the setup there is all professional. It's not amateur, and there's other sports there as well. All the sports that would be included in the Asian Games or the Olympics. So it's setup is fantastic.
Well, I've caught up with Wayne early this week. We're going to get him on a call. My goodness, we've got a huge schedule of calls lined up during this lockdown, and I'm in lockdown until the end of June, which is a bit of a nuisance in some respects, but it's giving us huge opportunity to keep rolling out these home theory sessions. But we do have another question. Ask Lee to sing Bryan Adams. Is there a reason for this?
Which question is that off?
Richard Osborne. You know him? Come on, we'll have a little version of Bryan Adams. We'll try and get you on BGT for next season if it's good.
I refuse. My days are over. I refuse to sing anymore. No, I can't. I did try a little bit of Oasis for on one call a couple of years ago, and I had so many complaints.
Where were we then? So back to when we look at Hong Kong. Yeah, awesome place, isn't it? Awesome place, and it needs to be repeated.
You've got the set that they've got, but actually the place, it's a brilliant place to go. If anybody thinking about going there, I definitely think you should go there. it's a
Yeah.
fan place to
I
visit.
mean, wouldn't it be great though if I know Jason Ferguson is spending a lot of time trying to get this sort of stuff through, but wouldn't it be great if both England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland all had government funding the way that Hong Kong works and the Chinese work? You know, it would really take the game forward. And yeah, I mean, I can be critical and say we've got to get kids into clubs and stuff like that, but you know, government funding is quite a big thing, really. And hopefully Jason will be successful about or with that sort of um, I guess campaign that he's on. You know, he's passionate about it. But okay, so we're in the network. There's you, me, Terry, Alex, Leely, and Wayne. We've got some exciting times coming. We're going to soon be putting in place an Ask Steve, Ask Our Coaches, which I can't wait. If there's one big question that you've been asked, all right, a complicated coaching question, what's been the most complicated coaching question you've ever been asked?
The most complicated question, and that's the best on me. I don't. Most complicated question. I suppose not complicated, but the question that I certainly get the most is, you know, does SightRight work? You know, that's the question that I get.
Oh well, now they can ask Ronnie, Stephen, Mark. They can ask a few people. But how did you answer that?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, you've just listed three people there. You know, you've listed Mark Williams, listed Ronnie O'Sullivan, and you've listed Stephen Hendry. Three of the best players that has ever picked up a cue. And you know, if anyone are going to put their top 5 players of all time, those 3 players would be in it. Yeah. And all those 3 players have used SightRight.
Well, we've also got Sean, because Sean is our marquee pro. You know, and we've got.
You've got other great players as well that I haven't mentioned that you know that have used it. But you know, when you're talking about those 3 guys and you're talking about Sean Murphy and you know your Dave Gilberts, your Martin Goulds, and all these players, you know, if it didn't work, why would they be using it? Why would Ron Sullivan seek you out? Why would Mark Williams listen to me and seek you out? And you know, Stephen Hendry the same. You know, it's because you know, as soon as it's okay doing it. If it didn't work, they wouldn't keep doing it.
No,
you know?
No, that's a fair point. We've got another question for you. Ask Lee what John Virgo said after he missed a long red against Steve Lee at the quarterfinals and at the 04 Worlds. I don't know anything about this. Is this controversial? Is this
No,
what did he say?
I think he said if that was cricket, it would be classed as a wide.
I think John Virgo is absolute class. I mean, the entertainment factor that he gives. So, well, if that's cricket, it'll be classed as a wide. I can remember we were in the Novotel in York at the UK one year, and he came in. I think there was a few of us playing cards around the table. Dennis was with us, Ken was with us, Stephen Hendry was with us. We're all around a table, so you know it was a bit of a table of sharks. I think fair to say. Ken would try and bluff his hand with a good old laugh. Stephen would keep quiet, but John Virgo comes in, and he stands on a chair, holds up a lighter high above his head with a drink in the other hand and says, "How about this for the Statue of Liberty?" And I'll never ever forget that. He went into the top 10 in my book of commentators just for that one thing alone. Oh dear. But what have we got? We've got another message. Yes, it's not on there. I've had it text through. Do you think Mark Williams can win another world championship? Now, he might be listening. So there we are.
if he pull himself away from the golf course,
pull himself away from the golf course. Perhaps if he plays more golf, he might become another world champion.
Well, I didn't play golf, and he ain't becoming world champion at golf. That's for sure.
No, not at golf. It's the way he relaxes, isn't it? It's the way he relaxes.
Yeah, but then you can relax, and then relaxing, and then he's relaxing, and won the world. You know, he should be pro, really.
So, are you going to go and have another conversation with Mark and say, you know, back in 2017, shall we get going again?
You know, Mark does what he does.
Oh dear, yeah.
I talked to him. I think I have tried to say, you know, any chance of you know, practicing, but you know, we'll wait and see. Obviously, he can't at the moment. So
what a guy! What a guy! I've never seen anybody eat so many prawns. All right, but the problem is he got me eating as many as well. So maybe that's a false statement. I don't know. Right, we've got. I'm going to say a really, really huge thanks to you for the call. And the one thing I'm probably going to say is we've got this little baby out there for all of our player members in our network, and the feedback we're getting is awesome. What would you say would be the one main reason any Q Sports players out there should join our player members club?
I think, you know, if you want to become as good as you possibly can be, you know, not everybody is looking to be a professional player. You know, some people are just looking to improve their games and, you know, win some games down the club. And you know, there's also a question I've been asked. You know, am I good enough to use SightRight? You know, SightRight is not just for professional players; it's for everyone, no matter what standard you are. And you know, if you want to make the most of your ability, get to the best level that you possibly can, then you have to do SightRight. Simple as that.
We've got some exciting times ahead, Lee, haven't we? Between our whole team. You know, I can't think when we were talking about pulling this all together and with Wayne and with the guys, we've got one hell of a team there, and I think, you know, every one of us just wants to help people improve their game. And I'm proud to have you on board. I'm proud to have met you in 1997, even though I didn't know that later on in our lives we'll be doing stuff like this. But you've been an incredible help to me in a number of different ways. So for that, I'm going to say thank you publicly. You gave Mark a kick up the backside over SightRight. You changed his wording from sight wrong to SightRight. So I thank you for that. You've now got to get him on the call for us for next week. He'll probably back out. But no, a huge personal thank you from me for all you've done to support me, to support what we do in our coaching, training up all the coaches, the advocacy that you've shown, and you're a special guy. So a huge thanks to you today. Lee, I'm going to hold up the snooker cup to you. All right. Cheers to you and your family. All right. Thanks so much for joining us. All right. Take care. All the best.
Bye.
Take care, Lee.
Bye.